This is Easy Talk with Zeus
and Zino.
This is the podcast of two very ordinary guys talking about everything and anything, including sports, pop culture, and I guess, is it still a heavy dose of politics? It's a good amount of politics.
A decent amount.
Yeah, we're the Pepsi One of politics at the moment. So anyways, Zino, what's going on, man?
Not much. Trying to mute my phone. Yeah, at the very beginning of our podcast.
Yeah, Zino's a very unprofessional podcaster, you know? Yeah.
Not much going on since we last recorded. We did a Zeus Talk feature, and I guest hosted on the radio show. You guys should check that out. It was an interview.
Oh, definitely. So Zino, make sure to pop on the YouTube, at least pop the links on the bottom.
Yeah,
and definitely check out that Cassandra, man. I really enjoyed that conversation we had with her.
Yeah. It was very good. The founder of 9 Hair Co. Right, so it's about entrepreneurship and it's about her business, men's beard care company. It was really good. And then the other interview I'm talking about was with an R&B singer. Her name is Katz, with an @ sign for the A. Really good interview there. So that's what I've been doing, and just sports and the usual. What about you?
The usual. Nothing much with me, man. Just as Zino probably can attest to, on Facebook, I've been working out a lot. I have a calendar that I'm just Xing off the days that I work out. So my goal is 365 workouts in this year, right? For one workout per day, but obviously not one. I'm not going to work out every day, but one workout for each day. So I sometimes do 2 a days. Last month was 31 days. I did 29 workouts, so it was too short. This, of course, is 28. So I have the 28 plus the 2 that I fell short. So I'm trying to see if I can do 30 workouts this. And just so people know, a workout right now, I'm doing beach body, so I do T25. So that's obviously a workout, right? When you do 25 minutes, and then something else that I consider a workout is at least a 1 mile run. So I'm trying to start running today because I used to run cross country back in high school. I did not look like I ran cross country in high school, but I did run cross country in high school. And just trying to do that, man. Just trying to lose some weight, get a little bit more fit. See what happens. Good, get my sexy on. So that way people will want to watch us on YouTube versus just listening to us on the podcast.
Right. Yeah. Someone said I was on one of our podcasts where someone was like having a face for podcasts.
I think it might have been. Was it the conversation with Cassandra?
I think it was Cassandra.
About that? I think we might have been joking about that pre-production. Like, yeah, you have a face for podcasting.
That's funny. But yeah, I mean, when you get to be a man of a certain age, it's time to start taking care of yourself. So I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. Unprompted, you just did.
And that's Zino saying he's not at that age yet, since he's still younger than me.
I'm honestly not, I'm always going to be younger than you, but I'm not that far away from you though. So I'm getting there sooner than you think. Maybe I'll start.
Actually, you know what? That's funny. Just real quickly, I want to point out the reason why I'm doing this, man. It's honestly, it's because of that. It's because it's not even at the age. It's not like because I'm 35. I'm not really seeing. I'm about to be 36. I'm not looking at my morality, but obviously you do think of it back of your head once you have kids a little bit. But it's just, you want to be able to move around with your kids, and you want to be able to move around with like people when they need you and stuff like that. So that's the reason I'm doing it. So we'll see. I keep telling Zino, and I keep telling people that I'm thinking about opening up a page with me working out and trying to talk about nutrition and me trying to lose weight. As I told my friend last night, me on my journey. So we'll see if I do that, I'll definitely let y'all know, and then maybe you guys can join me on that little quest. But anyway, nice. Zino, want me to break down the 5?
I've got it written down, but you can do it if you want.
Oh no, you break down the 5. So of course, you guys know we usually try to do a top 5, but when we don't do a top 5, we just break down the 5, and that's just 5 quick pieces of conversation that me and Zino are going to have a fun time talking about today.
Yes, and those 5 things will be, we'll start with the NFL. We're going to talk about Brian Flores, the whole saga that's going on about being pushed out of Miami and then potentially trying to get interviews where it was already decided he wasn't going to get the job. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to go to the Super Bowl, which is next Sunday, the 13th of February. It's going to be the Rams versus the Bengals. Zeus saw it coming. I didn't. We're going to talk about that. And then the heavy dose of politics is going to be section 3. We're going to talk about more January 6th stuff, but this is more specifically about Mike Pence pushing back against the president, the former president, and what does that mean for the Republican Party? What does that mean for their relationship? That sort of thing. And then number 4, we're going to talk about Hawkeye. We couldn't finish our conversation on Hawkeye before because Zeus hadn't completed the show last time we spoke.
My bad.
But yeah, he's completed it now, so we want to talk a little bit about that. And then we're also going to talk about other things that are on Disney Plus, including remind me of the name of the movie. Is it Encanto? Encanto, yeah. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to finish up with Marvel movies that came out recently, Eternals and Spider-Man No Way Home. Zeus has also watched those now, so we can talk about that. I just finally watched Eternals, so I'm not devoid of blame here. So we're gonna round out the show with some MCU talk, and that's the 5.
All right, so let's just jump right into it, man.
Okay.
All right, can you, because you're much better at breaking things down, can you kind of break down a little bit of the timeline of this Brian Flores saga?
Yeah.
Starting with his being in Miami.
Yeah. So, well, to be fair, I don't know entirely too much about Brian Flores. I just know that he was the head coach of Miami. I know that Miami started the season, I think, 1-7, and then they went on like a 6-game winning streak or a 7-game winning streak, where they were almost in position to make the playoffs, and then he got unceremoniously fired at the end of the season.
I think they were actually at winning in the last game too.
Yeah, they were very close, very close. So I remember vividly Zeus posting on Facebook how ridiculous it was that he got fired, and then lo and behold, this whole thing started to blow into epic proportions. I think I remember him saying something about the Miami front office, but I don't quite remember what he alleged. But the main thing that we saw, no, this came afterwards. The first big thing I think we saw was that he was talking about a time when he interviewed for the Broncos, and John Elway and the other front office staff of the Broncos basically, they didn't want to be there. John Elway apparently came in looking drunk. And the suggestion there is that he was basically being interviewed just to satisfy the Rooney Rule. They never really had any he never really had a chance of getting the job, right? So that was one major bombshell that came out. Then the other thing was that I think he alleged that he was offered $100,000 for a game to lose games for draft picks, which I don't know if we've talked about on the show, but I think tanking for drafts is the stupidest thing ever. But apparently he was offered $100,000.
If you go back to last year, because that was last year. If you go back to last year, though, remember there was a time where people were showing that it looked like it was blatant that they were losing on purpose because they did some horrible play that allowed another team to easily win because they were close to winning themselves. There was a close match, and they did some horrible defense that was people were and then after that, Miami players started asking for trades, and that's when they started winning a little bit more. So I'm gonna say this: I don't know 100% of the allegations are true about if John Elway rebutted saying that he was hurt, blah blah blah, that he said all this. He said I wasn't drunk. I did want to be there. I enjoyed our conversation. I thought our conversation was very productive, and it's hurtful that Brian Flores is saying these things. I wasn't drunk or hungover. I was disheveled because we had literally done an overnight flight from another place in Denver or something like that, doing an interview for a different coach. So his rebuttal was, I thought John Elway did a good rebuttal of it. His scene sounded like it was genuinely at least he was trying to explain look, this isn't what it was.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because this is the problem with he said situations, right? It's very hard to get to the root of it unless there's some memo or some tape. It's so funny you said that because I saw the post. I think it might have been a SportsCenter post on Facebook that showed the full clip of the full statement from John Elway, and someone on this Falcons group that we're in on Facebook posted that. And when you look at the common thread in that Falcons thing, like I would say 90% of people were like, "Oh yeah, this is BS." Like John Elway is BS. And then when you click on the photo itself, so you get to the Sports Center page, the comments there were like 90% in favor of John Elway.
Yeah,
saying that, "Oh, I knew Brian Flores was full of crap." Um,
no, I don't believe in that.
and,
That
and
I
then
don't believe.
and then the issue now is it's now become, and there was no way it wasn't going to become this. It's now become divided down racial lines.
Yeah,
If
and
you
that
go
always
and
happens.
look at the comment section and look at who is saying that Brian Flores is fibbing and who's saying that he's telling the truth, it's like almost right down racial lines, and it's so sad that everyone always goes back into the corners, and no one can ever be believed about racial inequality and all that stuff. Because for you, as a white person to come out on the side of that, you feel like you're having to
Defend your people,
no,
or at least yourself.
yeah, exactly. Like, oh, what does this say about me if I agree that this is happening? So yeah, it's quite the saga. Oh, the one thing I left out is
Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick, yes, apparently texting him to congratulate him on the Giants job, but he texted the wrong Brian. And all people are like, "Does Bill Belichick?" Huh?
I think that's what set it off.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like, "Does Bill Belichick make this kind of mistakes up?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. He's a footballing genius, but he's still an old man. Like anyone can click the wrong Brian on your phone." So, but yeah, some people are saying that no, he intentionally did that to like kick things up, I guess.
I have something that because we can laugh about some stuff, right? Somebody, I think it was NFL memes on Facebook or one of those Facebook like put Bill Belichick changing his contacts to Black Brian and White Brian to make sure he doesn't mess up again. Now, going back to what you said about the whole it being divided by the racial lines, that is so true. Because the thing is, I'm saying with John Elway is I just feel like his rebuttal was genuine in what he was trying to say, right? Mm-hmm. I still 100% believe what Brian was saying, because the thing of the matter is, if you open up your eyes and look at it clearly, why is it, and this happens in corporate America, we're both in corporate America, we know, but the workers, the field is always diverse a lot of times, and sometimes it's overwhelmingly diverse on another side, but you keep going up to the top, the higher up the top you get, the wider it gets. That's just the way it is. And the thing is, what happens is those people at the top, they're not the ones hiring at the bottom. They can easily send out, hey, we got to be diverse in our hiring process. But then once it starts getting bottlenecked, you end up picking people that maybe you genuinely understand more.
Yes, people you feel comfortable with, and it's not. We don't say this to like malign like the leadership of the company, but it's like bottleneck was a good turn of phrase for that. But also, it's like a pyramid structure, right?
Right.
The lower jobs, there are more people there, and as you get closer and closer to the C-suite, CEO, CTO, all that stuff, you get fewer and fewer people. Now, when you have fewer people, and this is for like running the company, right? This is the health of the company. You're likely to choose people that you trust, right? People that you feel comfortable hanging out with, and yada yada. So, if the people that end up around you in the C-suite look a lot like you, it's probably because that's who you hang out with. That's it.
And I would actually say that's not genuinely. It's not disingenuous of that person, and it's not. It's actually not. I don't want to say bad, but it's not a bad thing. What it is, though, you have to be not consistent. What's the word what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, you have to do it on purpose. You have to purposefully realize, okay, we do need more people of color in this area, because I don't know why. And executives, when they're hiring coaches, they don't look at the fact that 70% of my players are Black.
Yeah.
Maybe even more. Wouldn't it be a good thing if the main guy in charge of all these people, what do you mean these people? main guy is like them, can at least understand. Because look what happened in Houston. Like, first of all, Deshaun Watson didn't like that. First of all, I don't agree with the quarterback saying, "Oh, they have to be involved in the hiring process of a head coach." I'm like, no, that's not. That's not. Yeah, that's not your job. No, but when they brought in, I forget his name. He was.
No.
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah, he
was
black.
Right?
Is that
black? Oh no! I don't.
No, the head coach. The head coach was black, but he literally got one season and he was done. Whereas you have guys, because remember I even mentioned it with Brian Flores. I was like, when Brian Flores got fired, I'm like, man, how is it that Brian Flores, who I think only had, out of 3 seasons that he was there, only one of them was a losing season. The first season, and both of the seasons that were winning, he just didn't make it to playoffs because the AFC was just stacked that
year. Yeah.
But both times, he doesn't, overall, I don't believe his season is a losing season. But then you have guys like, and eventually Joe Judge did get fired. I don't know if that was a ramifications of New York being like, hey, man, we got, and there's a lot of people getting mad about this guy getting fired who has a winning season and he's black, and we're keeping this one guy who's white and he has a losing season. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just let him go, right? But it also might have been that they were just ready to change the tide in New York.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you have all these different situations going on. Why is it you're not realizing that maybe we do have to be purposefully inclusive? And the one thing that I cracked up with the NFL was the NFL did a statement, and that statement was, did you see the statement? Their statement was defensive as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And then just today, if I'm not mistaken, it was either today or yesterday, they said that they sent to some kind of group to overlook their to their diversity program, because they're like, maybe we're wrong. So it's just like,
maybe we're wrong.
And anybody who thinks that Brian Flores is just doing this because he didn't get a job.
Yeah.
Think about this, man.
It's the same people that say Kaepernick, he was doing the protesting and all that stuff because he wasn't a good quarterback anymore. He wasn't starting.
So ostracizing yourself from the league is the move that you would go? No.
Right, exactly.
Flores, come on.
Making sure that it's like very difficult to get hired again. Because it's the same thing with okay. There's a couple of things I want to touch on first that I forgot to clarify, and then I'll get to my point. When I talked about the Bill Belichick thing, I forgot to clarify for people who haven't been following that the reason why that was a big thing is because he texted Brian Flores on a Tuesday to congratulate him on the Giants job. Brian Flores hadn't interviewed for the job. The interview was on a Thursday. So he was trying to text the other Brian who had been interviewed, and New York apparently told Bill Belichick that we're going to hire this guy. Because I guess Bill Belichick still has friends from his time at the Giants. So that's why that's a whole thing. It's like, so Brian Flores was going for this interview 2 days later. That was already a done deal. So
right.
Yeah. Okay, so the point I was going to make about the Kaepernick thing, right? People saying that, oh, he's just doing this for publicity or doing this for work. Kaepernick has made change from what he did. Right now, the whole kneeling thing is considered okay. In English Premier League games, they kneel before every game, literally every single game. You know how we do a national anthem in England? They do a kneel, and then they start the game, right? Stamp out racism sort of thing. That's because of Colin Kaepernick. Well, Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job, but he's fine. He's got money now. He's fine. But it's the same thing with Brian Flores. Coming out and being vocal about how the Rooney Rule is failing black coaches and all that stuff. He's not going to have a job off of this. He's going to be ostracized and all that stuff. But it's going to be for the betterment of coaches going forward. Right? Like the whole thing of putting out the private text message you have with Bill Belichick, that thing is going to sour a lot of front offices. And they might not hire him because of that. But that act alone could help other coaches in the future because front offices realize we don't want to have the blowback of this sort of thing going forward. So yeah, I hate to throw around the words martyr or hero or whatever, but in this specific space, that's what he might end up becoming because he's put himself out there like that. Right. Yeah. Right. Anything else on the Flores situation?
I guess my question would be is, do you think that the change that will happen, because it's inevitable, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Do you think it'll happen instantly, or do you think it's going to be one of those things where, like, 5 years we're still going to have this conversation?
it's not going to be instant, but it's going to be faster than gradual.
I'll tell you one thing. One thing that'll be an embarrassment to the NFL will be if, out of all the coach vacancies that were available, if none of them are black, that is going to be the new hires. Which I think
they're going to be forced now.
I think Brian Leftwich is going to get it, though. I think he's getting one of them. I think he might be getting the Vikings one. I think that's the rumor, right? Because you know how a lot of times the rumors out there. Yeah, Leftwich. Which the thing is, though, I'm like, I guess it doesn't benefit the hiring ones, right? Because it benefits the ones who lose a coach. Because remember, they end up getting if Brian Leftwich becomes a head coach for the Vikings, that gives the Bucs a third round supplemental pick. You know, so it's beneficial to the teams that hire them. And then it's funny enough, you want to know the one team that is the most diverse team and is celebrated, at least on Wikipedia, it was celebrated. You'll never guess which one it is.
Us? Atlanta Falcons?
Nope. Washington.
The Commanders.
Washington is the only Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders. They're the only team, the first team in NFL history to have, I think, the president, the general manager, and the head coach all be minorities.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at them go.
And then Dan Snyder is admitted as people are like Dan Snyder's a little suspect when it comes to the racial, but I get. But anyways, so yeah. I think if the NFL doesn't, at least one of those coaches is not, it's going to be an embarrassment. Whether they deserve it or not, it's going to still be an embarrassment.
Unfortunately, in the NFL and in a lot of corporations, there is a minority ceiling. You know,
right?
You can get only so high, and then that's why people have to go out and start their own businesses and be entrepreneurs and be their own CEOs and whatever.